The recording has started. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Hudson Valley Regional Council for the Mid-Hudson launch of the leadership round of the NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities. My name is Carla Castillo, and I serve as Deputy Executive Director of HVRC and Hudson Valley Clean Energy Communities Coordinator. HVRC is one of 10 organizations statewide serving as official representatives to NYSERDA on the CEC program. HVRC's CEC coordinator team listed here looks forward to providing technical support to your community. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on HVRC's website and YouTube channel. All attendees have been muted for the entirety of the presentation. Please add your questions to the chat and preface them with the name of your municipality. CEC coordinator Anila Cherian will be moderating the questions. You probably see her on the screen. We have allocated approximately 30 minutes to respond to chat questions at the end of this presentation. Our website will include the responses to all chat questions as well as the PDF of this presentation. If you should need any assistance with go-to functionality, please PM Planner Hannah Friedenberg. Please pardon any lag in the slides. Okay. Today's presentation is designed to address questions that both previous and new participants of the Clean Energy Communities program may have. Before starting the main event, I'd like to take a few moments to share information about the Hudson Valley Regional Council. HVRC is one of 9 regional councils in the New York State and one of over 600 nationally. HVRC provides technical support to municipalities across our various programmatic areas listed here. Please feel free to reach out to us on any of these areas. HVRC prides itself in providing impartial, transparent, and informative support to local governments across our region. And we ask that you please mute yourself if you are not already muted. Thank you. The Leadership Round of the NYSERDA Communities Program is a program of NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. The program is designed to encourage New York State communities to implement clean energy actions, save on energy costs, create jobs, and improve the environment. In addition to providing free tools, resources, and technical assistance from CEC coordinators, the program recognizes and rewards your clean energy leadership. The CEC program offers flexible grant funding for clean energy projects with no local cost share and creates pathways to lower utility bills in homes and municipal buildings through a variety of high impact actions. The program also helps your community spur local green jobs with CEC project dollars. The CEC program is designed for local government implementation at the county, city, town, and village level. HVRC has attempted to provide comprehensive information in this slide deck on the leadership round. High-level information on submission requirements will be covered. Hyperlinks to important resources like the guidance document, toolkits, and templates, and the submission portal are also included. We do recommend that you contact your CEC coordinator to discuss some of the actions with more nuanced requirements and for general guidance. As you can see, Anila and I are focused on support to municipalities, while Hannah provides technical support around specific aspects of 3 high-impact actions. Please feel free to schedule a meeting with us via our personal calendars or contact us via email since HVRC continues to work remotely. Local governments across the state have access to $17 million in grant awards. Okay, let's see if folks could mute themselves. I continue to click mute all, but some folks are squeaking through. So I ask that everybody mute themselves. Thank you. Each region has an allocation of $880,000 that is available only to a region's municipalities. Communities can also compete for the additional $8.18 million in grant awards on those actions that are available to all of the state's communities. And overall, across the state, $17 million is available in program grants. The Leadership Round offers many pathways toward grant awards for your community's clean energy, energy efficiency, and sustainability projects. Through a total of 24 actions, communities now can access 3 different types of match-free awards: designation, point-based, and action awards. Grant amounts range from a minimum of $5,000 to $100,000 for small communities and to $250,000 for large communities through designation and point-based grants. Communities can earn an additional combined total of $110,000 in action grants for adopting the New York Stretch Energy Code or completing community campaigns. Communities that receive a grant award of $20,000 or more may be eligible for an additional match-free $10,000 bonus grant if their grant project is located in a disadvantaged community. All grants are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Large communities are those with populations of 40,000 or more residents based on the 2010 census. Small and medium communities are those with populations under 40,000 residents. So it's over 40,000 for large, under 40,000 for small and medium. A designation grant of $5,000 is available to communities that complete 4 high-impact actions to become a designated clean energy community. At least 2 actions must be new and completed after August 1, 2016. This is a one-time grant available to both newly designated communities and communities that attained designation before January 26, 2021, but did not earn a designation grant. I know a lot of dates, but we can go over this in more detail when we discuss it with you individually with your community. These communities will receive this grant retroactively and will be informed by NYSERDA via email. The Leadership Round point-based grants enable communities to become eligible for grant funding by collecting points for completed high-impact actions. The more energy an action saves, the more points your community can earn, leading to larger grant amounts that may be available to your community. Point-based grants are available in separate buckets: by points, by community size, and by geography. There are 3-point thresholds: 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000. Points. As communities accumulate points, they will be eligible for grant awards according to their community size. These points are cumulative. If your community completes enough high-impact actions to reach 5,000 points and awards are still available, a small community can receive a point-based award of up to $100,000, and a large community can receive an award of up to $250,000. Point-based grants are available to small and medium-sized communities at the Mid-Hudson region level. So these are all here that say by region. For large communities, they are available at the state level. So thank you. For those of you who are on the phone, if you could mute yourselves on the phone, that is the one group that I am unable to mute at this time. Thank you. In addition to designation grants and point-based grants, communities can also receive action grants by completing one of 2 high-impact actions: the New York Stretch Energy Code and community campaigns. The grant award amounts and the number of grants available again differ by community size. Community campaigns require a different number of minimum participants for the different community sizes, listed here under required number of participants. Local governments can complete up to 4 unique community campaigns and be eligible for the award amounts shown on this slide for each unique campaign. A large community that completes 4 different community campaigns may be eligible for up to $60,000, and a small or medium-sized community may be eligible for up to $20,000. These grant awards are available to communities on a statewide basis, regardless of community size. So these are not regionally allocated. I'll now be moving on to a more detailed review of the 24 high-impact actions that are available to your community. We hope you will find that at least 4 of these energy-saving activities are attainable for your local government. At minimum, the actions are all designed to reduce energy usage and costs and to stimulate your local economy. HVRC CEC coordinators are available to help you identify which actions are appropriate for your community. The Leadership Round offers a broad selection of energy-saving actions for you. High-impact actions with a set number of points, like 200 for the Unified Solar Permit or 1,200 for New York Stretch Energy Code, are single-level actions. High-impact actions with ranges, like benchmarking or community choice aggregation, include sub-actions that each come with their respective point allocations. In this way, your community can create a pathway toward energy reduction and savings that is right for you. HVRC's coordinators look forward to helping your community identify its pathway. Each completed action and sub-action counts as an action toward designation. The following slides will focus on the submission requirements for each of these actions, including details that are important for NYSERDA approval. Submission of documentation for each action is through the CEC High Impact Action Documentation Portal. You can access the portal through the hyperlink in the second to last arrow. Templates and informational content to help you complete each high-impact action are in the toolkits. The toolkit webpage is hyperlinked in the last arrow. The slides for each action also include a hyperlink to that specific action's toolkit. It is always a good idea to review the toolkit for available templates. Some templates reduce the time commitment needed for an action. Some actions require use of the provided template to receive credit for that action. You will note that some actions are punctuated by an asterisk. The asterisk indicates that communities which received an approval from NYSERDA for a specific action prior to the launching of the Leadership Round will receive points retroactively. I hope that's good news for many of you. The Unified Solar Permit action is designed to streamline and expedite the approval process for installing small-scale solar in a community. Implementing the standardized permit application is expected to cut costs as well as save time and resources by decreasing the overall installation time. Adoption of this action has the added benefit of helping support the local solar industry. Communities that inform the Uniform Code for private buildings are eligible for this action. To obtain credit, submit a copy of the legislation adopting the permit application as well as a copy of the actual permit application to the portal. The toolkit for this high-impact action contains a template for the version that is currently accepted by NYSERDA. Please note the asterisk. The Energy Code Enforcement Training Action consists of a free training on the current New York State Energy Code. The hands-on training is designed to walk code compliance officers through best practices in energy code enforcement for both new construction and renovation of commercial and residential buildings. Completing the training module gives communities opportunities for significant energy savings through improved energy code compliance. Communities that enforce the Uniform Code for private buildings are eligible for this action. At least one code official must attend the full-day training, which covers both residential and commercial buildings. In-person workshops are currently being planned for 2021 Q4 in 3 Mid-Hudson region locations. All trainings will be COVID compliant to ensure the safety of all participants. Communities receive credit for this action by submitting a copy of the notification of completion email provided by the trainer, Newport Ventures. Points are available only for trainings completed after January 26, 2021. Authorizing the Open Seat PACE financing program enables eligible commercial or nonprofit properties to secure funding for permanent renewable energy projects and upgrades. The Energy Improvement Corporation manages this financing project here in the Hudson Valley. Once adopted, Open Seat PACE can become a part of your municipality's economic development strategy. Cities and towns in Westchester County are eligible for this action. Outside of Westchester County, cities and counties are eligible. Communities can receive a total of up to 500 points for this action, 200 for authorizing a CPACE program and 300 for the closing of a CPACE finance project in your community. Communities receive credit for the authorization action by submitting a screenshot of EIC's list of participating municipalities or documentation from a non-EIC PACE program. So here is the list for participating municipalities in the EIC program. The completion date on the authorization action is when the local government became an EIC member or when the CPACE program was adopted. Communities receive credit for the project finance action by submitting documentation demonstrating closing for the financing. The completion date for this action is the date on which the financing closed. To be eligible for the project finance action, a jurisdiction must complete the Open CPACE authorization action first. So this one gets completed first, then you have access to earning points for the second one. The Clean Energy Upgrades Action positions municipalities to save energy and money by replacing outdated equipment with new, smart, and efficient technologies. Municipalities must achieve a minimum 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from municipal buildings, facilities, and/or infrastructure. The reduction in greenhouse gas emissions may be achieved with energy efficiency improvements or renewable energy sources, including solar, CDG, wind, geothermal, or anaerobic digesters. This action is available to all communities. To receive credit, communities must submit an Energy Star Portfolio Manager benchmarking report for municipal buildings owned or occupied by your community that are 1,000 square feet or larger, a clean energy upgrades calculator available in the toolkit, and backup documentation such as an ASHRAE energy audit or an approved pre- and post-engineering study. The completion date for this action is the date the project achieves substantial completion. Please note the asterisks. You can demonstrate utility bill savings, increase comfort, and a healthier work environment by implementing a clean heating and cooling demonstration project at one of your municipal buildings. Eligible installations include air or ground source heat pumps or a solar hot water system. The demonstration building must be 1,000 square feet or larger and be open to the public year-round. The required submission documentation includes a signed and completed clean heating and cooling demonstration certificate form and educational material on your demonstration project. It's important to this action has the added interest in making sure that whatever project you take on, the general public is aware of the benefits of it. The completion date is the date equipment is installed and must be after January 1, 2020 to earn credit. This action is available to all communities. Communities can highlight their leadership role by purchasing 100% renewable energy for their electricity needs. All communities are eligible for this action. To earn credit, you submit a completed 100% renewable electricity certification form, which is available in the toolkit. The form will ask you to identify load matched with New York renewable energy certificates retired in the New York State Generation Attribute Tracking System. You will hear these referred to as RECs and NIGATs. A second required submission document is a copy of the executed agreement. The completion date of this action is the date when the renewable energy is delivered and must be after January 1, 2020. We recommend reviewing the step-by-step guidance for this action found in the toolkit because it provides information on RECs and retirement on NIGATs. At a high level, RECs represent proof that the electricity was generated from an eligible renewable energy source. The claim that electricity is renewable or green, to claim that RECs must be purchased and retired in NIGATs. The RECs must be Clean Energy Standard Tier 1 or 2 eligible because these are the only types of RECs that contribute to New York State's energy goals. And again, this is something we can go into greater depth when we have individual meetings with your communities. Through the Climate Smart Communities Certification Action, a program of the New York State and managed by the DEC, local governments can access a comprehensive framework for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and building resilience to climate change. Very often, local governments complete this action in partnership with appointed volunteers of environmental committees, such as conservation advisory councils. Communities that achieve both certification levels will receive a total of 800 points. To receive credit for this action, communities must submit separate screenshots for each certification level achieved. This slide provides a hyperlink to the listing of certified communities. We also have the option of submitting you also have the option of submitting the email of certification achievement from the DEC, which communities receive prior to the public announcement of their certification. All communities are eligible for this action. Please note the asterisk. Throughout the Hudson Valley, communities are converting their streetlights to long-lasting LEDs. Communities can reduce their streetlight energy use by as much as 65% by installing energy-efficient LED lighting, generating cost savings and emission reductions. HVRC's CEC coordinators can connect you with reputable businesses that are available to assist local governments with the conversion process. Many of these businesses now offer maintenance plans as well as financing options that can put your community immediately in the black. These local companies also offer fixtures in warmer color temperatures and with broader wattage selections. HVRC coordinators can also provide your community with a cost analysis that outlines the potential future savings from conversion to LEDs. Communities can earn up to 900 points completing the LED streetlights action, 700 for conversion to Cobra heads, and 200 for conversion of decoratives. To earn credit for either action, submit a completed and signed LED streetlight calculator found in the toolkit. Municipalities must demonstrate conversion of at least half of their streetlights to LEDs, regardless of light category. If your community has less than 20 fixtures, a minimum of 10 fixtures must be converted. Communities that pay electricity for most of the streetlights within their jurisdiction are eligible for this action. Communities that receive NYSERDA approval for the Cobra head conversion action prior to the leadership round will be awarded points retroactively. The benchmarking action offers up to 1,000 points to communities that adopt legislation requiring the tracking of energy use of municipal and/or large private buildings, as well as advanced reporting on energy use for municipal buildings through the EPA Energy Star Portfolio Manager program. Benchmarking adoption for municipal buildings applies to buildings that are 1,000 square feet or larger. Adoption for large private buildings applies to commercial and multifamily buildings 25,000 square feet or larger. By tracking energy use, communities and private building owners can identify the buildings with the greatest opportunity for energy and cost savings. Templates for the sub-actions are included in the toolkit, including legislation documents and the advanced reporting format. CEC coordinators are available to provide training on the advanced reporting action. To earn credit for these actions, submit a certified copy of an executed local law, ordinance, or resolution with vote tally for the municipal buildings action. The advanced reporting action requires 2 submissions: a screenshot of the municipal webpage where the report is posted, or how the report can be accessed in those communities without a website, and proof of having shared the portfolio manager account with NYSERDA. For the large private buildings action, submit a copy of the executed local law or ordinance. We encourage you to contact your coordinator to review the required legislation, as well as to understand the steps needed to fulfill the advanced reporting action. All communities are eligible for the municipal buildings and the advanced reporting actions. Large cities, towns, and villages are eligible for the large private buildings action. Communities that receive NYSERDA approval for adopting benchmarking legislation for municipal buildings prior to the leadership round launch will be awarded points retroactively. Clean fleets. General Motors recently announced, I'm trying to get my little mouse to go, not good. Here we go. General Motors recently announced its plan to exclusively offer electric vehicles by 2035, signaling an important major transition. I'm going to turn off this laser pointer because it's causing problems. The Clean Fleets action can help your community make this transition even sooner through the deployment of light to heavy duty electric vehicles or the installation of EV charging stations, or all of the above. For example, HVRC coordinators can provide information on the latest incentives and rebates to help fund your purchase of EVs or charging stations. If your community is awarded a CEC grant greater than $5,000, eligible uses for the funds include the purchase of EVs and charging stations. As your community joins the transition, it will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and pollution while benefiting from more energy and operationally efficient vehicles. The Clean Fleets Action, totaling up to 1,000 points, are available to all communities. To earn credit, deploy one or more EVs and or charging stations. And to do so, you submit a completed and signed Clean Fleet certification form, which is available in the toolkit. Equipment and vehicles must be active at the time of action submittal, and the completion date is when the equipment became operational. Charging stations must have 2 or more level 2 charging ports or 1 or more DC fast charge ports. Municipalities must own or lease the equipment, which can be used for government operations or made available to the public. EVs must be manufactured for use primarily on public streets, roads, and highways, and have a maximum speed capability of at least 55 miles per hour. Heavy-duty EVs must be a Class 7 or 8 plug-in hybrid or battery electric vehicle. School buses and vehicles used primarily for fixed route public transit, like a transit bus or minibus, are also eligible electric vehicles. 100 points will be awarded retroactively for actions approved by NYSERDA prior to the leadership round launch. Additional points can be earned for actions completed after January 26, 2021. By adopting legislation authorizing your community's participation in community choice aggregation, you can bring lower price renewable energy to your constituents. CCAs aggregate electricity customers into a larger pool, which enables CCA administrators to negotiate lower rates on your behalf. To date, Westchester Power, Joule Assets, Good Energy, and Mega have been helping communities reduce carbon emissions in their CCA administrator roles. Cities, towns, and villages are eligible for the CCA actions. Communities can earn up to 2,000 points by authorizing 2 types of opt-out programs, a 100% renewable default supply mix and an opt-out CDG program. The submission materials required to earn credit are listed on this slide. For the 100% renewable default mix action, the product mix must be default 100% renewable clean energy. The electric service agreement should indicate that the energy service company will retire RECs on behalf of the municipality in a NIGATS account. The electrical energy associated with the RECs must be consumed at retail in New York State. The completion date for the sub-action is the date on which the electric service agreement or the addendum was fully executed. Communities that received approval from NYSERDA for the action prior to July 1, 2019 must resubmit under the updated guidelines to earn points for this action. So that's a very, very important point. For the opt-out CDG sub-action, a completed opt-out CDG certification form must be submitted, which is found in the toolkit. The form should attest that no less than 600 accounts, or 50%, whichever is greater, of residential and small commercial electricity accounts within your community have been enrolled into active CDG projects on an opt-out basis. The completion date is the enrollment date for this opt-out CDG program. New York Stretch Energy Code. Just like Star Trek, The Next Generation, the New York Stretch Energy Code is the next generation code that goes beyond the base energy code. NYSERDA developed New York Stretch as a statewide model code to help communities meet their energy and climate goals by accelerating the savings obtained through their local building energy codes. New York Stretch can provide savings of roughly 11% over the 2020 New York State Energy Conservation Construction Code. By adopting New York Stretch today, your community can take advantage of these savings now and potentially gain access to the action grant associated with this action. As discussed earlier, large communities may be awarded $50,000 for adoption of New York Stretch, and small and medium-sized communities $5,000 on submission of the required documentation. Jurisdictions that enforce the Uniform Code for private buildings are eligible for this action. To earn credit for New York Stretch, Submit a certified copy of the executed local law or ordinance adopting New York Stretch on a jurisdiction-wide basis. The completion date is when the code takes effect, which must be no later than December 31, 2021, to be eligible for the action grant. So that's the end of this year. The code must be customized to fit local needs and priorities, but the adopted code must be at least as stringent as the New York Stretch Energy Code. CEC coordinators are available to facilitate meetings with New York Stretch circuit riders who can present the benefits of New York Stretch in detail, as well as outline the differences between the current code and New York Stretch. We have arrived at the last action, community campaigns, which is an action with an associated action grant like New York Stretch. Before continuing with this action, I would like to acknowledge the work of a colleague we recently lost, John Wackman. While most will remember him for his recent amazing work with repair cafes, John had previously devoted his boundless energy to running solarized campaigns with Sustainable Hudson Valley. He passionately believed in the power of aggregating one's neighbors to make a larger impact than we could have on our own. If you choose to move forward with a campaign, I believe he would encourage you to bring joy and positivity to the effort. The Community Campaigns Action is available to all communities and ranges in points from 200 to 800. Communities can undertake one of each of the available campaigns and earn 200 points for each. So that is community solar, electric vehicles, clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency combined, and demand response. Earning credit for the Community Campaigns Action requires submission and approval of documentation in a specific order. Prior to launching a campaign, version 3 of the scoping document must be uploaded into the High Impact Action Submission Portal for review and approval by NYSERDA. Campaigns that proceed without NYSERDA approval will not be eligible for the action grant. This is a very important point. Once an approved campaign is completed, municipalities must demonstrate direct municipal participation in the campaign and submit a completed customer list with a minimum of 25 participants in large communities and a minimum of 10 participants in small and medium-sized communities. Communities are encouraged to partner in community campaigns. Each must submit a separate scoping document to earn credit. So this is a very valuable approach. All participants listed in the customer list must reside within the boundaries of the applying jurisdiction. A template customer list is included in the Community Campaigns Toolkit. HVRC CEC coordinators can walk you through the required fields of the customer list, and we actually highly recommend that. The completion date for this action is the date the scoping document was approved by NYSERDA. A few things to keep in mind with some of the campaigns. The Community Solar Campaign is really a CDG campaign and includes solar, wind, or hydro facilities as eligible CDG projects. The Clean Heating and Cooling and Energy Efficiency Campaign requires that at least 3 participants from small and medium-sized communities result from clean heating and cooling installations, and at least 6 participants from large communities. The rest can be energy efficiency participants. Demand response campaigns can focus on products and services like smart thermostat deployments, battery energy storage, and peak saver campaigns. Last but not least, a reminder that pending grant availability, a large community completing all community campaigns may be eligible to receive up to $60,000 in action grants, and small and medium-sized communities may be eligible to receive up to $20,000. And the action grants do not require designation in order to be eligible for the funds through those action grants. As John Wackman showed us, the success of community campaigns is dependent on the partners a municipality brings together: appointed members of environmental committees, committed residents, organizations, and of course, municipal staff and elected officials. Before moving on to a couple more slides on grant awards and resources, please take note of this table, which shows the full range of high-impact actions for which different communities are eligible. Where sub-actions are not specifically broken out, the same eligibility applies to all actions. This, of course, you'll have access to when we make the slide deck available. This slide provides a little snafu here. This slide provides a very high-level overview of the CEC grant award information. Please note the guidance document pages focus on grant awards as well as the grant application hyperlink, where you will also find the grant project requirements for funded projects in the sample agreement and statement of work. NYSERDA will inform your community of when it has become eligible for grant awards via email. For grants larger than $5,000, applicants have 3 months from the date of the NYSERDA email notifying you of your award to submit a completed application. Projects must start within 6 months of the project approval notification and be completed within 3 years of contract execution. This is the same as in the first round. HVRC CEC coordinators will be available to walk you through the grant application workbook. Please be aware that award applicants may submit one of the pre-approved projects listed in the grant application workbook or a custom project. Pre-approved projects include conversion to LED streetlights, installation of solar projects like solar carports, purchase of EVs, installation of charging stations, or building upgrades projects. Communities are also free to submit a custom project for consideration. Custom projects are reviewed by a scoring committee and can take a minimum of 6 weeks to review. Communities can receive an application submission extension of up to 2 months as long as it is submitted at least 2 weeks prior to the application deadline. Please be mindful of these deadlines as communities can lose their grant awards if deadlines are missed. For a $5,000 designation grant, NYSERDA will only be interested in learning about your intended use. HVRC coordinators are available to support your community during the grant application process. There's the rest of the slide. This slide contains a list of useful leadership round resources. We encourage you to view the videos of New York State local governments that participated in the CEC program in the first round. The guidance document is an important resource as it presents the official leadership round information in full. For those communities that receive grant awards over $20,000, please review the disadvantaged communities lookup map. Projects located in disadvantaged communities may be eligible for an additional $10,000 match-free bonus grant. I hope you have found this webinar informative and that it has piqued your interest in participating in the leadership round of the NYSERDA CEC program. After today's webinar, HVRC CEC coordinators will be available to support your pursuit of high-impact actions, including identification of an actions pathway that is right for your community. Please be sure to reach out to us via email or use the Calendly links included earlier in the slide deck. We look forward to helping you build community-wide resilience and to achieve cost savings through clean energy and energy efficiency projects. Anila will now join us as moderator. She and Hannah have been feverishly organizing all the questions posted in the chat. In the time we have left, we hope to respond to all questions posed. Regardless of how far we get, responses to all chat questions will be posted on our website along with a PDF of this presentation and a link to the recording. Thank you, Anila.
Thank you, Carla. So to all of those who have been waiting patiently, we thank you for muting yourself. I can hear an echo. I am sorry for that, but.
Oh, shoot. I apologize, Anila. I accidentally muted you.
So greetings, everyone. Thank you for this stellar job that you did, Carla, in presenting a very comprehensive overview to the very energetic and climate responsive municipalities that we have. As many of you know, Carla has and I have served the Mid-Hudson Valley in answering many of your questions as soon as the leadership launch happened. We look forward to answering questions. I have been answering some of your questions in the chat session. I would ask everyone to be respectful and courteous. So if there are specific questions that you have that are very targeted to your municipality, we can address them separately. If there are more generalized comments, we're happy to take them on. And we will, of course, provide a summary of the slide deck, the webinar recording, and a compilation of all questions and answers at the HVRC website. With that said, Carla, one of the questions that that came up quite frequently was the issue of energy code enforcement training, and I answered it in the chat session. And unfortunately, it is one of those things as a result of the COVID pandemic. You know, we are constrained by the fact that it needs in-person training. And just to confirm, Carla, that it will be only in Q4 as we're discussing now.
Yes. And I would like to add, Anila, thank you. I'm sorry. I thought that was a question. I would like to add that no other community in the state is embarking on energy code enforcement training prior to Q4. So everybody has the same starting point on energy code enforcement training.
So now we had some questions on community campaigns, and let's try and delve a little deeper on them. We had Lauren ask a question about a request for repeating the 3 energy efficiency job requirement details. We had a question from Michael as to whether a Solar for All campaign would count as a community solar campaign. And is that an aggregation on the campaigns? Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question on campaigns? Please post it now. But in general, Carla, let's discuss the 4 types of campaigns and the fact, you know, just if you would just kindly pull up that slide again, if possible, or we could comment on it in terms of community solar and the clean energy, heating and cooling efficiency. Yep, perfect. So the important thing to recognize here is, you know, Carla emphasized this, but we can't emphasize this enough. For those of you who may have been aware of previous community and engaged with previous community campaigns, the important thing is this is a 2-step process. This time around, NYSERDA very clearly wants step 1, the completion of a scoping document. That scoping document needs to be reviewed by NYSERDA. As you can see, prior to a campaign launch. Again, prior to a campaign launch, a community has to submit a scoping document. And then once it is approved and NYSERDA has given the go-ahead, then you have additional documentation to submit once you complete it. So the question was, Carla, about, Lauren had a question about the energy efficiency in the clean heating and cooling campaign. Lauren, do you want to specifically pose?
Can you repeat the question again, Anila? We're keeping everybody muted.
Okay, Lauren's question was, can you comment on the 3 job requirements, 3 energy efficiency job requirement details?
Job requirements. I'm not sure I understand that.
I unmuted myself. I hope that's okay.
Go ahead.
Carla, you had mentioned the number of jobs that needed to be completed for the community to get the points, and you said—
Oh, participants, yes.
Participants.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So the number of campaign participants that's required for communities that are 40,000 residents or more, it's 25. And for small and medium-sized communities that are under 40,000, it's 10. 10 minimum participants.
And then did you say like a certain number could be energy efficiency and a certain was clean heating?
Oh, yes. Yes. So for the clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency, there is the requirement that at least 3 of those in a small community must be clean heating and cooling installations, and at least 6 must be for clean heating and cooling installation from large communities. And then the balance can be energy efficiency. So if you're in a large community, 6 have to be clean heating and cooling. And then 2019, I think, if I'm doing my math right, can be energy efficiency.
Yeah, so to reiterate, this information is available on the NYSERDA website. And again, it is by municipal size. Large, required number of campaign participants at 25, and small to medium, that is a population of 0 to 39,999. That qualifies as a small and medium municipality. You need the number of participants at 10. Okay. Then there were some questions regarding PACE financing. Simon has a question. To enable using commercial PACE financing, is the Energy Improvement Corporation CPACE program the only one currently providing this kind of financing in New York State, or are there others now? The EIC is the NGO that implemented Energize program in Westchester in recent years. And the answer is yes. EIC PACE is the recognized organization. And yes, it had, Carla, do you want to answer it in more detail? So the EIC corporation is a New York State, as everyone might know, a nonprofit local development corporation. And it includes the counties and cities across New York State, as well as towns in Westchester. So Westchester is in a little different position, but it is counties and cities across New York State that it covers. And all the counties have signed with EIC New York base.
So a tiny correction on that, Anila. Because in Westchester County, the cities and towns are eligible to adopt PACE financing, the Westchester County itself is not. It's counties and cities outside of Westchester County that
Correct.
are eligible for PACE.
Right. So it's Westchester provides a unique situation compared to the rest of New York State. In the other counties, it's the counties that is the jurisdictional entity. Okay. Can we, so there's a question about, can we see examples of scoping docs for community campaigns? That
So
is,
so yes, do you mean scoping docs that other folks have completed?
correct.
That is actually a really excellent question. Now, the only difference is that no one has yet, my understanding, has completed the new scoping document. So there most likely isn't a recent example of that. But I think that what we can do is once one is submitted, we can contact that, be in touch with that community and see if they would be willing to share that scoping document. We should be able to get our hands on a previously submitted scoping document, and people could potentially use that as a reference. But I almost would hate to do that and would prefer that the new scoping document is shared, so that there's no confusion between the old version and the new version.
Right, and here I'm glad that we have Lauren on board as well, because I know in speaking in terms of the Westchester towns and cities and villages, I know that Sustainable Westchester is working quite hard to prepare some community campaigns, and I'm sure would be willing to share their knowledge and expertise in terms of peer-to-peer learning. And that's an excellent question. Now we have another question from the town of Marbleton. Can communities that reach the 4,000 points apply for a grant at the 3,000 point level and the 4,000 point level?
I love that
question. Or is it just 1 point based grant per community?
No, I love that question. So as I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble moving my slides quickly. Maybe I can, it's not working, but that question has a wonderful answer to it. So if a community completes 3,000 points, you get that pocket of money or that bucket of money. If you then move on to complete, say you're a small community, you complete 3,000, you get to 3,000 points, you get $10,000, assuming that the awards are still available. If you get to 4,000 points, on top of that $10,000, you get the $20,000 associated with the 4,000 point mark. And then if you happen to achieve 5,000 points and there is still funding available for a small, medium-sized community, you get $70,000 on top of that. That is why small communities, in this example that we're talking about, can get up to $100,000 in point-based grants. It is cumulative. It is additive.
All right. Excellent. So now we have a couple of questions that I answered some of them in the chat session, but we have Max asking for some clarity regarding LED conversion points. Max has said that they have, in his municipality, they have 50% of our Cobra heads converted to LEDs, but we don't have 50% of all lights. It was my understanding we earn credit for 50% of Cobra heads, according to the literature. Did anything change with regards to this?
So I think that's a nuanced question. I would point you to the language in terms of applicability, which says that communities that pay for the electricity for most street lights within the jurisdiction. So in the past program, NYSERDA had been very firm around what that totality of number was. So, for example, for Cobra heads, it would be all of the lights in your jurisdiction. You know, if you had 100 lights and you only owned 75, the percentage is against the 100 lights. My understanding is that situation is still the same in the leadership round, but I think it is worth going back to NYSERDA and confirming that application continues in the leadership round. So we will get back to you with that, a firm response when we distribute the Q&A responses.
Excellent. So now we have a question about we have a couple of questions about charging stations and clean fleets. We have Dean asking a question about public charging stations count towards the clean fleets action, and I answered that. We have a question about can munis that already have several EVs get more points for adding more of them after 1/26/21? So
yes.
If you could just, the retroactive piece and the additive piece in terms of clean fleets is the question, I think, here.
All right, so let me get to that slide. Apologies that it's a little slow. I will be there in a moment. The loveliness of animated slides, right? They're beautiful to look at, but then when you want to move around, it's a little slow. Here we go. Okay, so for anybody, so the first thing to understand is that the requirement is deployment of one charging station or one light medium EV or one heavy duty EV to get credit for any of these different point levels. So folks who were already approved for this action, which would be basically the light medium EV or the charging station, if they were approved by NYSERDA prior to the leadership round, they will get an automatic 100 points. NYSERDA has structured this so that if you are going to be purchasing more EVs or charging stations, you can get additional points for this action. So you would get, if you get an additional charging station, as long as it meets the requirements, it would be an additional 200 points, and same with additional points for the other types of EVs.
Excellent. So now we have a question about PACE financing again, which is, how many projects are needed to get the point structure? Because there's a 2-point structure, 2 ways to get the PACE projects, 2 steps. First, the signing on to PACE as a municipality or the jurisdiction level, and then the actual project finance piece. So Carla, could you go to that slide and just pull that up real quick for the benefit of a couple of people?
I will be as quick as my slides allow me, so I'm going in the wrong direction.
Thank you so much.
Apologies for, I don't know how to turn the animation off in the middle of this. And could you repeat the question again while I'm getting there, Anila?
The question has to do with the second part of the PACE credits, the action points. The first part is that a municipal or a jurisdiction signs on to PACE, and the second requirement, the 300, demonstrate closing of. The question was, is it only one open C-PACE finance project?
It only is one, and I put in parentheses, or I made it plural in case somebody happened to be closing on 4 projects. You can submit all of those 4 projects, but the requirement is only one project, and whether it's 1 or 5 that you are demonstrating closing on, it's still 300 points.
Okay, so then we have a question from the village of Rhinebeck about energy navigators campaigns through Cornell Cooperative Extension. If they get 10 people to take action, could that count as a community campaign? And again, we can refer back to that slide, and it has in terms of the community campaign scope of participation.
So the answer is yes, but the caveat is that you must have completed, so I'm assuming you're from a small and medium-sized community, which is why you mentioned 10. But a reminder that the scoping document, version 3 of the scoping document, which is in the toolkit, is the one that must be submitted to NYSERDA before you launch your campaign. No campaigns can be launched without that scoping document being reviewed and approved by NYSERDA, or you will not be able to have access to the action grant funds associated with community campaigns.
That is correct. Now, I have several municipalities that I've been working with on a different question regarding New York Stretch. And again, Carla and I, as the clean energy coordinators for the Mid-Hudson region, have been very effective in getting the New York Stretch team of experts to work with us, and they have been incredible. So if several municipalities that we are working with are looking for presentations to their town boards regarding New York Stretch. There was a question about climate smart. I'd like to shift gears a little bit just before we leave. There was a question about climate smart certification and whether there would be funding available, which is, I think, a great question for communities that want to help with developing climate action plans. And one of the answers is that if your community is fortunate and has been a clean energy community and can get designation grant, that is something that you could use to support clean energy and climate responsive action. So that is something that is available for people that do get designation grants. But is there any one person? Go on.
I saw that Dazzle Ekblad was kind enough to have joined us during our launch, the Mid-Hudson launch of the leadership round. And I was wondering if Dazzle was still on, if she might be interested in responding to that question. I'm not sure if Dazzle is still on. Okay.
Right, I'm not sure she's on.
It looks like Dazzle may not be on. So I will say that the response to that is that, obviously the state has been going through some financial issues given COVID that are being experienced by everybody in the country. And as everything gets back slowly but surely back to normal, new CFA funding for Climate Smart Communities grant program will be released. Maybe that'll be at the end of the year. Maybe it'll be next year. It depends on the health of the state the financial health of the state is my understanding. But we will check in with Ms. Ekblad and include that response in the Q&A.
And finally, just let's summarize because it's 1:02. Just to clarify, Carla, for all the communities here, there are so many opportunities via community action grants. The community can potentially do all 4 community campaigns. And can you just specify, because this has come up in different questions, with regards to clean fleets, is it possible for a community to do only one of the clean fleet actions? If, for example, EV and or charging stations, or can you do multiple options?
If that question is whether people can do all three of the Clean Fleets action, then the answer is yes. You definitely can. But if the question is whether you can get multiple points for, say, the installation of 2 charging stations or purchase of 2 light medium duty vehicles, the answer is that it's the deployment of one of each of those. So each one comes with its bucket of points. 1 charging station or 10 charging stations still results in 200 points.
Correct. So the important thing is to remember the thematic clusters, right? So just like in Clean Fleets, you had several opportunities and clusters of ways to get it. Similarly for community action, for community campaigns. And the whole point about the leadership round is to encourage communities to participate more. That's why it's called the leadership round. And we look forward to working with all of you, and we really appreciate the work of Hannah, who has done such a wonderful job behind the scenes. And I know Carla, you and I really appreciate her work as well. And she's going to be able to assist communities on specific sectors like benchmarking and LED lights and the potential for climate smart communities engagement. So we thank Hannah in advance for her work as well. Thank you, Carla. And to all the municipalities out there, I think you're going to join me in congratulating Carla on doing a wonderful overview, and we look forward to working with all of you.
And I'd like to end on this slide right here. This is slide 4 of the PowerPoint, the slide deck that you will be receiving, and it has both the municipal breakdown of the communities that we work with for myself and for Anila, and it also gives you information on the areas that Hannah will be providing technical support on, the specific high impact actions. Our Calendlies are listed there, as is our email, a link to our email address. So we look forward to hearing from you. And thank you, yes, so much for joining us. It's been quite a pleasure seeing, I believe it was 141 people plus who joined us today. What an excellent number for a region that is always incredibly active and leading the charge. Thank you all.
Great, and we're going to do it all over again
At 6:30
this evening.
For those who want to do it again.
Yes. Take care, everyone. All the best.
Thank you so much. I will end the recording now. Bye-bye.